Welcome back, everyone, to another podcast with Makaija and Direct Sunlight. Now, before we begin our exploration together today, I'm not too sure at which point you might find yourself fascinated by the subject in which we are discussing. But as that's taking place, I invite you to relax, sit back, and really tune in and tune up your attention while we dive into this amazing subject. Now, as we get started, open up your hands for me, if you can, if you're not driving or something. Close your eyes, tilt your chin, get a little more relaxed, and let's welcome in some good energy, okay? We're going to do a couple of affirmations. These are to help us become better versions of ourselves. Repeat after me. Right here and right now, I agree with happiness. Right here and right now, I agree with good. Right here and right now, I am so grateful for another opportunity, for another moment. Thank you. Now, up until now, you might have thought that it's okay to be fascinated by anything and everything. And I'm not sure in what sense some sort of growing curiosity might occur as to why that could not be true. If we are fascinated by everything, we have now allowed everything to rule over us. You may not be one who is fascinated by everything, but you're fascinated by something. And what we are fascinated by and fascinated with, we will become. Think back in time just for a quick second. What time or point in your life were you so fascinated with something that it just ended up happening to you? You were so fascinated by how that person could be so rude to another person that just a few minutes later or hours later or days later, the same thing happened to you. Now that's a slight, that's a oversimplification, okay? Oversimplification. But notice what you were fascinated with was the rudeness, right? And maybe not the reason why that person was rude. And not saying the reason they were rude was because someone was rude to them. No, I mean the reason inside of the person why they were rude. There are levels to us humans. We go from surface to depth. As we become fascinated with things, that is actually one of the deepest facets of our mind and of our being that's latching on to whatever it is that it's interested in. And that's why we become it. So maybe write this down. Ask yourself, what am I fascinated with? Who am I fascinated with? Where am I fascinated with? You know how I know what people are fascinated with? I just look at their lives. I just watch their lives, watch what they do, who they talk to, how they talk, what they talk about. I can tell what someone's fascinated in how they grab a coffee. As they grab the coffee, Are they looking at the cup? Are they looking away from the cup? Is the coffee full? Is it halfway down? You can tell what people are fascinated with just by watching their actions. So ask yourself, what are you fascinated with? And just watch yourself. You'll notice, ooh, I'm really fascinated in how that person thinks of me. You might notice, ooh, I'm really fascinated in the lack. I'm fascinated in the fact that I don't have enough money to pay my bills. I'm fascinated with that. Meaning I'm paying attention to that. I'm giving it energy by wondering, oh, why don't I have enough money to pay my bills? That's fascination, family, when we ask questions. That's fascination. If you're looking to learn something about something, that's fascination. It doesn't have to be this big old mysterious thing in the sky. It really doesn't. If I am fascinated with something and I'm learning more about it, whether the learning is actually taking place or if I just keep asking myself the same question, like, why can't I pay my bills? Right? If you ask yourself that over and over, you're producing fascination with why can't I pay my bills? And guess what you become? Someone who can't pay. Someone who can't pay their bills. What most people are fascinated with, from what I've noticed, are other people, places, things, circumstances, and most of all, stories. You know, once upon a time, there was a king, and this king had children. You see, I just started telling you a story, and instantly you wanted to know more. Most of us are fascinated with stories. And that's why the story of why can't I pay my bills is fascinating. It's a story. You're trying to create the storyline. But what you're missing is the storyline is being created in this thing called life, and you're ending up living and experiencing it, you know? It's a little bit of a deep one. It's a little bit of a deep topic. You didn't come here, though, to, like, skid on the water, did you? I think you're learning now you may have come to the wrong place for that. What are you fascinated with? Are you fascinated with, like, your sister's grouchy boyfriend? Oh, every time this guy comes around, like, why has he got to be like that? Why has he got to eat like that? Why has he got to say those things? Are you fascinated with that type of stuff? Like, are you fascinated with all the wrong ways that your job runs its management team or how the processes are done? Are you fascinated with the wrong way to do something? Are you fascinated with the lack of something? Are you fascinated with the absence of a boyfriend or the absence of it? Why can't I have a boyfriend? Why does everyone else get a man? A friend of mine literally I said, let me know if I can do anything for you. This is probably the 10th time I've heard her say this. She was like, you can find me a man. I'm like, girl. She's fascinated with the absence of a man. These are the things I'm fascinated with, and I'm going to ask them in question form to see how it touches you. And remember, if you go back to the last episode, I think is when we talked about this. When I asked myself, hey mama, you're okay. When I asked myself some question of like, I forget the question in the podcast I'm talking about, guys, but I asked myself something like, am I in agreement with like money or whatever it was? The way that you can tell how far or close, how much resistance you have about something is if the thing is positive, right? Like, I'm going to ask you this question right now. Are you fascinated by success? What just happened in your brain and in your gut and in your heart? What happened? Are you fascinated by success? Fill in your name at the end or at the beginning. Hey, Jim, are you fascinated with success? I'm asking you on the podcast. Are you fascinated with success? Now that I've said it so many times, that initial reaction's gone. But what was it? You had an initial reaction. Was it, hell yeah, I am? Absolutely. Or was it like, ooh, fuck, I don't want to learn too much about success. Like, you had a reaction. That reaction right there actually tells you, it's a monitor for you So look at it as a helpful tool. Don't run from our feelings. Embrace them because they are tools to be used. If you felt resistance and you felt like, that kind of hurt, then that tells you right now you're not quite fascinated with success. How do you become fascinated? You actually choose to be. How do you choose to be? By taking action on it. Looking up someone who's successful, who you may envy, who you may feel jealousy for. Okay? Look them up and bless them. Send them more success. Send them more love. Send them more prosperity. Send them more money. Send them more gifts. Send them more praise. Send them more of whatever it is you think a successful person receives. Send them more of it. What about love? Are you fascinated by love? Love scares most people. But everyone likes to chant, God is love. Everything is love. But I'm terrified of love. That's because real love is a little scary. Because it's not always pretty. But are you fascinated enough with love to learn about love? And to learn to see love? And to learn to be love? And to have love? Or are you fascinated with, they're such a dick. They don't give a fuck about anyone. I've been doing well on cussing. I had to say that. I've been trying so hard and no one ever gives me any credit. Is that what you're fascinated with? And just be honest, family. Like when we take inventory of ourselves, you have to remove your ego from the scenario. Your ego will get in your way every time and it'll tell you, oh, you're fine. Everything's fine. Just ignore what Makai's just saying. Keep doing what you're doing because I love what we're doing. Well, yeah, the ego loves it, but you don't. So take control of your ego. Are you fascinated with happiness? Do you see happy people and rejoice? Or are you wondering, why the fuck are they so happy? What's so good over there? Nah, life can't be that good. You're laughing too much. What's so damn funny? Are you fascinated with mistrust? Are you fascinated with doubt and fear? Or are you fascinated with happiness? Are you fascinated with money? This is the hardest one, I think, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Are you fascinated with money? If you open up your bank account right now, as you're typing in your password or putting up your face to do the face recognition, how do you feel? Fascinated, excited, because you know something's in there? Or like, damn, I didn't mean to spend that much, right? Oh, I don't want to see this because I know I'm not getting paid till next week and I knew I had to pay them, but I didn't really want to. What's going on? Are you excited to get in your checking account? Open that thing up and say, hell yeah, that's my money. Are you excited to open up your savings or your Robinhood or your stocks or your Coinbase, whatever? Are you excited? Are you fascinated? Like, let me learn a little bit about how many more cents I made today. Become fascinated with these things that you want, because those things that you become fascinated with, they're fascinated by you too. Money is so fascinated by me. Success is extremely fascinated by me, and so is prosperity. So is love. So is health. So is wealth. So is happiness. These things are fascinated by me. They want more of me because I'm fascinated by them. I want more of them. Don't be afraid that you're ever going to get to the bottom of the barrel. There is no barrel. There is no bottom. There's an infinite amount of money, an infinite amount of success, an infinite amount of prosperity, an infinite amount of health, an infinite amount of wealth, an infinite amount of happiness. There's an infinite amount of all of it just for you. Go through your life after listening to this and really wonder, what are you fascinated by? And if you don't like what you're seeing, it doesn't have to stay that way. It can be changed. And we're going to get into more of these ways of changing. This is more of like laying down the groundwork. Next week's episode will be a part 2 to the Fascination series. Because next week, we're going to get into the spiritual portion of it, where we can actually take steps to induce these fascinations. Okay, this is just the intro to it. I hope you enjoyed it. I know you enjoyed it. And after this, there's someone out there you know who could use this information. There's someone out there that you know who needs to hear this and understand it. If you care about them, send it to them. I love you. It's always a pleasure. Be the sun and not its rays. And always remember, mind is matter. I'll see you soon.